welcome to Joe's Knows NFL Conference Championship episode. I won't be hosting it, but I will be starting it for Giacomo Imperiale, Matt Freeman, Will Kukowski, Richard Angara, and me, Jack Kemler. I'm only going to be here for this first part. There's just this whole season. A one man on this panel here has been disrespecting this one team for the whole year. And currently, they have 11 wins against teams with winning records. That's the most in NFL history. Lamar is going to be MVP. And right there in the middle, Big G, Giacomo Imperiale, has just been making bad takes about this Ravens team all year. Most recently, saying that they're not going to win any playoff games. They just beat the Texans by a good amount. Guac, do you want to apologize for, saying Lamar's not quarterbacky enough, saying the Ravens team is not good? Let's just hear your apology.
You're just putting words in my mouth there with me not calling him quarterback. All right, here's what I'll do. And this is the best you're going to get out of me. I will willingly admit that I was wrong. Now, do I think the Ravens will win another playoff game? Absolutely not. They're going to get dogged by the Chiefs this week. But I will acknowledge that the Ravens are a good team for sure. Lamar is the MVP. Okay. I don't think he'll be that good next year. I'm still going to root against this team. I don't think that they're going to be – I don't think they'll definitely won't be as good next year. So that's the best you're going to get out of me. I'm not going to – if they win the Super Bowl, you will get the Ravens Nation will get a heartfelt apology of how wrong I was. But okay, they beat a Texas team with the rookie quarterback. Not impressed. If they beat Mahomes next week, okay, I'm a little bit more impressed. It's a big win. If they win the Super Bowl, I would 100% be giving a full apology to the Ravens. But I will admit I was wrong, and that's all I will do. I will admit I was wrong for that.
This needs to stop. It is unbelievable. Okay? We start out this year by saying Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. That was debunked by week 4. Then we move on to, the Ravens, what are they going to be? 8-9, 8-9, third to last in the division. They proceed to run the table, win the division, and clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC. And then we're hearing, doesn't matter. They're going to lose first round of the playoffs anyway. Doesn't matter. They win first round of the playoffs. They look fantastic. Doesn't matter. They're going to lose next round. Doesn't matter. Lamar's not going to be good next year. He just won the gosh darn MVP. How is he not atop of your list for the best players in the league going into next year? And how have the Ravens not earned your respect after debunking every single take you had? You were wrong about their division placement. You were wildly wrong about their regular season record. Then you said they wouldn't win the 1 seed. Then they got the 1 seed. Then you said they weren't going to win a playoff game, and they won a playoff game. How many more times are we going to go down the line until they go 17-0 next year? I don't understand. It is beyond me. It's the worst takes I've ever seen in my life, and I don't know when we're going to learn our lesson. This Ravens team is fantastic from top. The body is arguably the best safety in the league this year. He has a case. That secondary has been incredibly solid. The defense all around has been great. And then Lamar Jackson's the MVP of the league. I seriously, I don't know. I don't know where. I'm at a loss for words.
I respect them. I just think that they'll lose to the Chiefs. They're a good team, and Lamar is, I will willingly admit, he's a top 5 quarterback, as much as I hate to say it. They have my respect. I just don't like them at all. And I truly do think that they're going to lose to the Chiefs. I think Mahomes
he's a top 5 quarterback. Okay, so name me 3 better than him. Name me 3.
Josh Allen, Patrick
with
Mahomes.
How many MVPs?
What?
How many MVPs does Josh Allen have? And what has he done in the playoffs? Because now we're at a point where Lamar has done everything Josh Allen has done in the playoffs and has 2 MVPs to his name.
I mean, Lamar, again, he's 2-4, so can we not get ahead of ourselves there?
So he's 2-4. What does that mean? Josh Allen has never gone farther than Lamar Jackson has gone in the playoffs.
No, he has. He went to an AFC Championship game.
What do you think the Ravens are playing in this weekend? Back onto, what we were just talking about. Lamar Jackson has been as far as Josh Allen has been. Because what Josh Allen had over him was he's a playoff success. He's been there. he has never beaten Mahomes in the playoffs. That's really unfortunate. He just hasn't done it. So I can easily say he hasn't gotten the job done in the playoffs when Lamar this year got the job done, got further than him, got further than Josh Allen. So they've been to the same level in the playoffs. No one's been farther, right? Their peak is the same, yet Lamar has 2 MVPs to his name. And Josh Allen 0.
That's fair. Honestly, I'm very, as much as a big of a win that this game against the Texans was, I'm very intrigued to see what he does in the AFC Championship game. I'll be very honest with you. If he beats Mahomes this week, I'll put him over Josh Allen. How does that sound?
He should be number 2 if he beats Mahomes this week. He should be number 2.
I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you.
But I'm sorry. Who's the other guy? Obviously Mahomes. I agree with you. And then Josh Allen. I disagree with you.
This is all theoretical. I know you're going to disagree with me, but a healthy Joe Burrow, I think, could still come close.
Okay. So I'm not. I don't even think that's the worst in the world. So.
All right. Let me just hop in here, and I'm just going to give a fair take on this. I was terrible on all levels from Jock. But, I mean, if we're talking about a guy who deserves respect, I don't really see a lot of quarterbacks who deserve more respect than Lamar Jackson. I mean, this guy came to the league, has been shown hate since day one. I mean, people are saying he's got to learn how to throw the ball. Took him a few years. Took him to get an actual wide receiving core. Took him to get an actual offensive coordinator who wants a pass-first offense. It took all that, and it took him all the training, all the work he's done, and he is now built into probably the most complete quarterback we have in the league. I mean, this is a guy who is the best running quarterback in the league and is starting to fare out as one of the best passing quarterbacks in the league. My team, the Colts, have been crushed this season. They're far to the playoffs. I haven't been looking at the NFL too much. It's NFL draft season for me now, and one of the guys I keyed in a lot on was Jane Daniels. He's a guy who in college makes, the right reads. He has a very good team around him, and they move the ball down the field. He does incredible things with his legs. When he comes in the league, he's going to be a very raw talent. If he can even get near Lamar Jackson and what he has done throughout his career, it will be probably one of the greatest draft picks people will be spending. The fact that Lamar Jackson has been able to improve this much in his career, I haven't really seen many quarterbacks fully take such a big step up throughout their career. The amount of respect that should be shown to this Ravens team in general and Lamar Jackson, who is currently captaining it, it's unreal to even step back and say, oh, next year he might not be good. He deserves respect on all levels. There is not going to be a downhill slant for Lamar Jackson. The scary thing for the rest of the league is, he just played football for 17 weeks. Like, he didn't go out. He didn't make anything crazy happen. He just played football for 17 weeks, and he's MVP candidate. Sorry, he's not even MVP candidate. He's going to win it. What he did in his rookie season was unheard of, and he won the MVP for that. And what he did this season was just him playing football at his best level, and he's going to do that for the rest of his life. So I don't know how the Ravens are going to take a step back next year. Obviously, the defense might take a few hits with guys leaving free agency. Things are gonna change within the team internally, but Lamar Jackson is not gonna take a step down whatsoever. He's still a top 2, top 3 quarterback. That's just because I'm not exactly sure about the list. I haven't sat down and run through it. So I haven't run through it. But off the top of my head, I have to call Lamar Jackson a top 2, top 3 quarterback.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair take. I've had my wrongs with the Ravens, and I will gladly admit that. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in that AFC Championship game. I will admit he's a good quarterback. I will still continue to hate him. That's just who I am, but I will give him his respect. But with that being said, we are going to move it on actually into those games. And the first up is going to be the number 3 Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Baltimore to take on the first-seeded Ravens. Matt, I'll throw it to you first here.
Yeah, I just think that the Ravens are too sound on all sides of the ball, and especially the game being played in Baltimore is absolutely huge. This is not the Chiefs team of recent history, right? This isn't the Chiefs team that has won 2 Super Bowls, that has pretty much ran the AFC in the past 5-ish years. Completely different ball club, and this Ravens team's out for blood. Lamar Jackson is playing better than Mahomes as of late. So, although we would all agree that going into next year, we'd rather Mahomes over Lamar. this year, right now, Lamar Jackson's just playing better football than Patrick Mahomes. So I just think the Ravens are a well-rounded team. The Chiefs don't necessarily have that, and I think the Ravens have the better leader right now in Lamar Jackson over Patrick Mahomes. So I'll take the Baltimore Ravens at home.
I think these two offenses are just too good. I mean, Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes, there's really no reason to go and try to debate, what team is going to come out and win it on the offensive side of the ball. But I want to take a step back and look at defense. And I'm not taking anything away from the Chiefs. L'Jarius Sneed has played ridiculously well at corner. They have a very sound defense. It is very solid throughout. But we're going to take a step back and look at the Buffalo team that the Kansas City Chiefs put up 27 points on last week. It's a very shaky defense. Yes, they play very well, but injuries at a few different positions have left them at not really full strength whatsoever. It's, was a very choppy game. Patrick Mahomes was able to take them apart, but I don't think he's going to have this luck against the Ravens defense. This is a defense that throughout every level is better than you. They are the clear number one defense in the league. They put up the Triple Crown defensively. Obviously, one of the craziest stats we've seen this year, but they're going to keep on doing it. They have players at all 11 positions, and I don't think that I think that Mahomes could beat them, yes, but I don't think that the players around him are talented enough to really excel the game. I think the Ravens are just going to win this, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Will took a lot of what I was going to say, but I'll lead with the Ravens this year are better than the Chiefs in every single position. And I stand by that. And I think that you can argue it, if you agree, you agree. But I do think that the Ravens are the most balanced and most talented football team in this league. And this is going to be Lamar Jackson's year to win the Super Bowl. I will take the Chiefs. I will take the Ravens over the Chiefs in a fantastic game.
I just want to jump in.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. You go first.
Really quick. And I think I'm going to touch on what everyone else is going to say. I think I agree. I think that the Ravens are better in almost every aspect. And I'm a big hater on the running back position. I think it's the most unimportant position in football. But Isaiah Pacheco is better than anyone the Ravens got at the running back position.
But as a unit on Chiefs, you have Pacheco, Hilaire, and McKinnon. They have 1,100 yards in 265 attempts, 8 touchdowns. Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and the short time we've seen Keaton Mitchell, 1,600 yards, 300 attempts, 18 touchdowns. And J.K. Dobbins, their number one running back, was out week 1.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with the conversation. And it's also a scheme thing, right? If I'm talking sheer talent, I'm going to take the Chiefs running back group over the Ravens running back group any day of the week if we're talking talent, right? You're playing with Patrick Mahomes and you're playing with Andy Reid and a West Coast offense that slings the ball across the field versus, a John Harbaugh-led offense with Lamar Jackson at quarterback who has been great throwing the ball. But that's a read option, pound the rock offense, right? They play sloppy games. They lean on their defense. So, again, it's a scheme issue, and then I'll let Will go.
All right, one more position group we got to touch on because the Chiefs have Travis Kelce, but I do want to just say I really like the fact that Mark Andrews is coming back. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely to combined, I would take the Ravens tight end group over the Chiefs. I mean, yeah, Noah Gray as a number 2 tight end has been really solid. We saw him perform in the playoffs last year, the year before. He's a guy that kind of comes out when you need him, and he makes plays. He makes, he'll move the first down markers. But I really, really like what Isaiah Likely has put together while Mark Andrews has been out. I mean, he's been incredible, and bringing back one of the best tight ends in the league. The Ravens are just fully loaded. They're ready to go. And just to touch on what Matt said, yeah, I do still think that the running back group, probably I'd lean to the Chiefs, but I do like how Justice Hill has ran the ball in the playoffs, how he's ran the ball to end the year. I think he's stood out as their number 1 guy. I really like how he's been carrying the rock. I think he could make guys miss and really get upfield pretty sound.
Let me jump in with some stats real quick. The last 7 games regarding the tight end, Isaiah Likely, 21 receptions, 322 yards. Travis Kelce, 36 receptions, 306 yards. And the big stat is Isaiah Likely 5 touchdowns, Travis Kelce 0 touchdowns. It's been proven the first half of the year does not matter. You can see it with the Dallas Cowboys. You can see it with the Dolphins. But again, if you go for the first 10 games when Mark Andrews was playing, he had 45 receptions compared to Travis Kelce's 62 receptions. And there's a differential of 10 yards between the two. And Mark Andrews had 6 touchdowns. Travis Kelce had 5. So so obviously Noah Gray and Travis Kelce are good. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are way better.
Just better. We're gonna take the way out. I'm gonna ride with the better, but it's hard to take the way better for a guy like Travis Kelce.
Big year. I mean, it's pretty obvious here who I'm going to take. I bet against Mahomes last week. I took the Bills to beat him. I thought the Bills were going to be out for revenge and play with a little bit more pep in their step. But, I mean, the Chiefs, give credit where credit's due. On Mahomes' worst year, he is still leading another AFC Championship game. Now, with that being said, this is, everyone said it this year, arguably the best defensive unit that Patrick Mahomes has had in his entire career. It's definitely top 2. So, again, the Ravens defense, very, very good as well. I think it's going to be game of the year. I think it'll be a very, very close game. And I think that it's a game where it's going to be like a 24-27 game. I think it'll be a 3-point game, be very, very close. I'm not even going to bring up stats, numbers, nothing. I just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I just can't.
I mean, we're not Ben, but I just want to go off of something. I'm not a big fan of, people saying that, Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't lose in the playoffs. I hate the sports cliches. I mean, analytics has come in the past 5 years and just destroyed every cliche possible. And I think the Ravens are going to destroy the Chiefs and the cliche that Patrick Mahomes doesn't, lose in playoffs games. You know what else doesn't lose in playoff games? Probably one of the most sound teams we've seen in the NFL come through since some of the Patriots teams we've seen.
I saw it on Twitter before. No team in the playoffs have won after beating Josh Allen. Just want to leave that out there.
All right. I mean, that's just, again, one of those hypotheticals, but we'll see how it plays out in Baltimore this weekend. Moving on to the NFC Championship game here. Another 3-1 matchup. In this one, you got the number 3 Detroit Lions traveling to San Francisco to take on the 1-seeded 49ers. Matt, I'll throw to you first once again.
Yeah, I've been saying throughout this entire postseason, Dan Campbell, great motivator, great locker room guy. But when it comes down to it, I think that the decisions, the game managing is just not up to par. I think it's very overrated as a head coach. So I think that this is the game. I've been saying it all playoffs that there is going to be a time where Dan Campbell is going to cost his team a ball game by, making an ill-advised decision to go for it on your own side of the field with a fake punt, or going for a 2-point conversion instead of going for overtime, where from the 7-yard line after whatever penalty happened, the ineligible receiver. But whatever the case may be, those are some very risky play calls, and they're gonna backfire eventually. And I think that is what is going to happen. Brock Purdy is not going to win you games, but I don't really think he's going to lose you games too often either. So, especially with how he can lean on Debo, who's expected to play, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, that fantastic offensive line, and then Kyle Shanahan, one of the best coaches in the game, and that phenomenal defense. This is just another very well-rounded, very fundamentally sound team, very similar to the Ravens. And I think we're going to see a Baltimore versus San Francisco Super Bowl matchup, and it's going to be a treat.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, just to go off what you said, I really don't think Brock Purdy is going to win you a game, but you don't need to when you got the entire rest of the team around you. And we know that. We've seen it throughout the years that San Francisco will win aside from the quarterback. But I do want to go to a team that's quarterback may have the ability to lose in the game. Jared Goff, and by no means am I a Jared Goff hater. I think he's a very, very solid quarterback. But come deep in the postseason, I really don't think he can get it done. He had a very, very good stretch with the Rams in the postseason, and he has done very well so far. 3 touchdowns, 564 yards, no interceptions this postseason. But going against a team like the 49ers is a whole different type of challenge. And as well as you said, Matt, I do get really fired up. Sometimes I'm having a bad day. I go to Twitter and look up Dan Campbell tweets. Or sorry, I go to his speeches, and they sometimes they fire me up. But I mean, his funky quotes and the weird things that he says aren't going to win you a game on the field. I think Kyle Shanahan is far and ahead a better head coach on the game plan side, and I just think that the 49ers are a much built out roster, much better than this Detroit Lions team at home. I think they're going to handle them pretty well.
Yeah, I just watched one of those tweets you've been looking at. This guy's great. Going into this show, my pick was actually the Lions. Just figured out that Deebo Samuel is active and will play. Obviously, last week Brock Purdy struggled without Deebo. I wasn't going to give him a shot if he didn't play. I'm going to go with the 49ers here. They're such a well-rounded team like the Ravens, but I think everyone said it. Brock Purdy doesn't win you games, but you also won't lose. Dan Campbell is probably the most aggressive coach I have ever seen. The kid's crazy. I do think that he will have some costly decisions here. I will take the Niners.
With that being said, I mean, everyone brought up pretty good points. I'm not going to say a whole lot here. 49ers is the most well-rounded team in football. Purdy, even after a rough game against the Packers, I'm still a big believer in him. I think he should be able, as a lot of people have said, to get the job done. He won't lose the Niners the game, but will win them the game. He has a great system around him. Just has to trust his coaches, the scheme, and what the Niners are putting out there for that game. We'll move it on in, though, to our second segment of the day today. First up, a little bit of offseason news. Coach Harbaugh from Michigan is going to the Los Angeles Chargers. So the thing we've brought to the table, I mean, obviously him coming into the NFL, do we think he could already be a top 8 coach in the NFL? Matt, I'll throw to you here first.
I think we got to pump the brakes on top 8. I mean, that, I think it's going to be a great addition. I think bringing in his defensive coordinator from Michigan is going to be huge. But some of the coaching talent that we've seen is unmatched, honestly, this year of all years. I mean, you look at, Will's team, Shane Steichen, has done a fantastic job. Stefanski has been great. I mean, his brother is doing an amazing job. You look at McDaniels have been having a great year. Dan Campbell's been having a great year. D'Amico Ryans is having a great year. Off the top of my head, those are 6 guys without listing Daboll. I can't really list them off the top of my head, but there's 7 right off the rip, and I didn't even mention Shanahan, so there's 8. I just wouldn't put him in that elite category yet. And I do think he's going to make an instant splash with, Justin Herbert and the weapons that they have. The Chargers do need to retool for sure. But, I think they will make a step in the right direction this year with Harbaugh and the addition of his defensive coordinator. But top 8 coach, no way.
Yeah, I mean, whoever put this question together should be jailed. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just really hard for me to take a guy coming out of college and on a team that is not obviously they're heartbroken by the loss of their head coach who's run that team for a while. But I mean, they're really not upset with Sharon Moore who's stepping in. I mean, they love the guy. He was fired up. He won a couple of huge games. He beat a couple of really tough teams, including one of them who's currently on a flag back there. You're right. The Ohio State Buckeyes, who are going to win the championship next year, but that's aside the point. But, I mean, Harbaugh coming into the NFL, I get it. He's got a brother. He definitely is a very knowledgeable coach, one of the best coaches in college this past year. But I don't even know if I'd call him a top 5 coach in the college this year. I mean, yes, he's run a great team, but I don't think he did it all by himself. I think he's a great leader. I'd love to see what he could do in the NFL level, but I think we got to give him a year or two. This Chargers team still has a lot of internal problems. Yes, they brought in their defensive coordinator, which was a huge move, which I honestly like almost as much as bringing in Harbaugh. But top 8 coach in the league right off the bat is a sin to say.
Yeah, I think everyone said it all. I will add, though, Harbaugh, about the Chargers, you got Justin Herbert, great weapons over there. Harbaugh he turned a Stanford team. He joined in 2007, it was a while ago, but they were 1-10, I think it was. They were the worst Division I team, and 4 years later, they're competing to be in a spot for the college football playoffs. This guy obviously at the college level, but this guy knows how to rebuild. The Chargers are in a little bit of a rebuild, but they have all the tools. I think the Chargers have a bright future. It's a little off topic. No, I don't think Harbaugh is a top 8 coach right now, but I think that he has the possibility at the end of his career to be.
Yeah, I feel like we're all pretty much on the same page. You know, I think that he could definitely turn this Chargers organization around, but to say top 8 is a little early, I could agree. But him with Herbert, I think, could be a scary sight for the rest of the NFL for a couple of the next years here. We'll move it on, though, to a couple other questions. So the first one we want to bring up to the table, Brock Purdy had a rough game against the Green Bay Packers, his official stat line. He went 23 for 39 with 252 yards and only one singular touchdown. So do we want to consider Brock Purdy as a top 10 quarterback given his past success and then basing it as well after this Packers game in the divisional round? Matt, I'll throw to you here first.
Yeah, you know, I'm not the biggest Brock Purdy fan. I've been pretty outspoken about that, but you know, the numbers don't lie to you. And one rough performance, it's just going to happen in the playoffs. When it comes down to it, he has had success in the playoffs. You look back to last year, you know, obviously until he got hurt. So I think you got to put him in the top 10 conversation because statistically, you could easily make an argument he's top 3 if you're just looking at straight stats. Obviously, there's other stuff that goes into it, but I think if you're statistically a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, it's really hard to drop you out of the top 10 in a real list. So, you know, it's one performance. I think you got to keep him in the top 10.
It's a silly question. We're going to go back to Jaden Daniels, a guy who just dumps the ball off short. He could hit the deep ball a little bit better than Brock Purdy could, but and of course he's a lot more elusive. But he wins his team games offensively. That defense that they have in LSU is a mess, but offensively he knows how to get the ball down the field. I see Brock Purdy as a guy who just knows how to win, knows how to get the ball down the field, and also finished as the most efficient passer in the entire NFL this year. How are we not calling him a top 10 quarterback? Just look at the numbers. It's like we're talking about, yes, he's got other guys around him. He's a guy who has the most efficient year this year and who will put his team into the chance of winning a Super Bowl for this year, the year prior, if he didn't get hurt, and the years to come. This guy is a top 10 quarterback. Just because he was Mr. Irrelevant doesn't mean that I'm giving him hype. I don't care that he was drafted in the 7th round. He could have been the first pick overall. I'm still going to call him a top 10 quarterback. The efficiency stats don't lie. It's right in front of your face. If you just look it up, Brock Purdy is truly a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to take a page out of Guac's book. Brock Purdy gets it done in the playoffs. He's second year in the league, second NFC championship. That's really all I need to say. But I will say that being this young in this position, you're going to have a rough game. And this is kind of his first. Like, even if you look at the stats, they're not terrible, but for Brock Purdy's standard, it's not good. But if we saw someone like Dak Prescott with these numbers, I think we wouldn't be like, this wouldn't be an outrage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take a page out of Will's book here. Whoever made this question should be jailed. This isn't really even a conversation at all. I mean, Purdy, it's an absolute dog. And I mean, listen, the Packers have a very, very underrated defense. You know, Rashawn Gary, Carrington Valentine, and a lot of young, good prospects on that Packers team. And it's a playoff game, you know? So he is going to struggle. And like Richie just said, he got the job done. You know what I mean? He won the game, and that's all he's going to do. Statistically, in the regular season, he's been good. He's been great in the playoffs, and he has another big game this weekend. But he's still 100% a top 10 quarterback. I don't get how you could view it any other way. And then we will transition that right into our next segment here. Lamar Jackson now. Obviously, we touched on it a little bit. Playing in his first ever AFC Championship game. How much is on the line for him? Still only at a 2-4 record, well under 500. How big of a game is this for Lamar Jackson for not only his whole career, but in his playoff standings, his record as a whole?
Yeah, I think for his all-time, status, where he ranks up against, the quarterbacks of this era, the quarterbacks all time, I think it's massive. I mean, clearly, right? You look at Giacomo, he always says that he can't get it done in the playoffs. Wins are mostly attributed to be a quarterback stat, so it is important to win in the playoffs. You got to get it done under the brightest lights. So, that absolutely no doubt, it's big for his legacy. Now, if you turn it on, Lamar Jackson personally, you throw the football stuff aside, it's absolutely bonkers to think that this is like an overwhelmingly important year or game for him, right? You look at, he just signed a monster contract. He's about to win his second MVP. Lamar Jackson's clearly an elite quarterback in this league. And, if he doesn't show up, then like we might have a fraud in our hands, to be quite honest with you. Like, I don't see how this guy's going to shrivel under the spotlight with the year that he's having. So, how much is on the line? I think that's a loaded question, but I think obviously any AFC championship game is going to be a highly contested game, a very important game for a quarterback's career. But, I think it's a little bit easier on him than some other quarterbacks would have it in this situation.
I mean, I honestly think there's more on the line for Jock than there is for Lamar. I mean, if you lose to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, it's not like the worst thing. You're not choking the playoffs. You don't fall apart. You don't fold under when the lights turn on. Like the really what is on the line for Lamar Jackson is a couple of ghetto Gronk memes. Like that's about it. It's going to be the media tearing into him for a week or two, saying like, oh, he's in Cancun. Like they're going to make a couple of funny jokes and then that's it. But truly, what Lamar Jackson has accomplished throughout his career should be the storyline and should explain to you what type of quarterback he is. Going into the future, it should explain to you what he will do for the rest of his career. I mean, I think that, yes, if he wins this game and wins the Super Bowl, it will boost him in the all-time rankings of quarterbacks and, the rankings just overall of the quarterbacks now. But really, for Lamar Jackson, personally, I don't think there's much on the line. Matt said he's getting paid. He's going to be back next year. He is going to be back the year after that. The Ravens are a team to stay. They're a very, very solid franchise, and he's going to be leading this franchise for many years to come. So with that being said, if he wins this game and goes on to win the Super Bowl, huge, huge performance. But if he blows it to, Patrick Mahomes, a guy who is just well known, as Jock has said, for just getting it done, I mean, is it really him folding under the lights?
Yeah, definitely. If you lose to Patrick Mahomes, it's not that big of a deal. This is the time for Lamar Jackson to finally just end all the criticism going towards him. If he wins the Super Bowl, there is nothing else they can say about him. They have 2 MVPs, Super Bowl champion. He's improved so much as a passer. Still the deadliest running quarterback, I'd say, ever. This is the year for him to end all of that.
I mean, I definitely think that there's a lot on the line for Lamar Jackson in this game. I'm going to disagree with Will here. I mean, Lamar Jackson's 2 playoff wins aren't that. I mean, the Titans a couple years ago, they were an okay team, not a great team. And then listen, CJ Stroud's a great quarterback, but that Texas team is nowhere near a Super Bowl contender. They won a big game 100%, but a very young, inexperienced team. So listen, props to Lamar, won the game. If he can beat the Chiefs, I will agree with Rich. There's really not a lot to say, especially if he gets into the Super Bowl. So I really think that this game needs way more for Lamar Jackson than it did in the last game. I think a lot is on the line for him here.
I don't want to go into this Guac being wrong about the Ravens thing again, but you're saying big deal about them beating the Texans. Last week, I'm so positive you said that the Texans were going to beat them by like 10 plus.
I mean, that was my hope. It didn't turn out, and I admitted I was wrong for that, but happens, you know what I mean? Lamar got the job done, took care of business.
You can't get on a show and hope for things. I mean, we're trying to educate the public. You can't hope and will the Texans from your seat, your gaming chair at home. I mean, we gotta come with like some presence. I mean, we can't just be hoping from here.
CJ Stroud looked like quite literally the best quarterback in the first round out of any guy. And against the Ravens team, I thought that
In
he
the
could show
past
up.
2 games, he did. I mean, yeah, he looked really good against the Colts at Lucas Oil. And then, yeah, he had a really good game against the Browns. But, I mean, we can't just be throwing out things. I mean, this
we
Ravens
weren't
team
throwing it
is
out.
great.
We weren't.
All right.
We weren't throwing
This
it out.
this is where, I think it's a little inconsistent here. I mean, you can't pick the Texans to beat the Ravens, and then when the Ravens beat the Texans, say it's an unimpressive win. You thought they would lose, and then they won, and you're not impressed.
They blew them out.
So they blew out a
I didn't
team
see enough.
that you thought they would lose to, and yet you're still not impressed.
Yep.
I just don't know, what the criteria is. You keep moving the goalposts here, and I just don't see how the Ravens are ever gonna be able to fulfill your wildest fantasies.
They'll fulfill it if they beat the Chiefs this week. I'll say that. But we'll move it on into here. Our last question of the night. This is actually my question. I'm going to answer this one first. So if Jared Goff is to beat the San Francisco 49ers, I didn't put a number on this, but are we ready to call him an elite top-tier quarterback? And I'm going to bring some numbers to the table because I think you 100% have to. 6 out of his 8 seasons, he had over 100 passer rating. And then in 7 out of his 8 seasons, he had a completion percentage over 65%, which is pretty good. And his touchdown to interception ratio every year has been good. He hasn't thrown a lot of picks. The last time he threw a lot of picks was in 2019 with the Rams, where he had his down year. So, listen, if Jared Goff can beat the Niners this week and take this Lions team to the Super Bowl, I 100% think he has to be in the top tier discussion. I mean, this guy has really – I mean, listen, he had his inconsistencies in LA, but he went to the Super Bowl with the Rams. And if he goes to the Super Bowl again with this Lions team, I think you have no choice but to give this guy a little bit more recognition. I think Jared Goff is slept on a little bit, and I think you have to give him a little bit more recognition, especially if he takes down this dominant Niners team.
I just think that this is a little bit ridiculous here. Calling him a top-tier elite quarterback, I just don't see it, right? This is a guy that does turn the ball over an alarming amount. And he's 11th in quarterback rating in the league this year, and he has a very sound team around him. You look at that offensive line, it is tops in the NFL. You look at those weapons, they're tops in the NFL if you're looking at the whole body of work. And then that defense has been much improved. So, yeah, Jared Goff has done a pretty good job, but I think we're looking like, if on the spectrum you got Patrick Mahomes and you got Brock Purdy in terms of what the quarterbacks bring to the table for their team, I think he's closer to Brock Purdy than he is to Patrick Mahomes. I think it is more of a plug-and-play offense for the Lions. Jared Goff, doing a great job. But you also listed stats from like 8 years ago. Tom Brady was the best quarterback in the league 8 years ago. So he's not a top-tier elite quarterback right now. I mean, if we're talking this year, he's 11th in QBR. He turned the ball over a whole lot. And he threw the rock around a lot. He had a lot of yards. Yeah, but that, again, is scheme. You turn the ball over, poor QBR. The completion percentage has not been terrific. I just don't see how you can list him in the same breath as Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and guys of that stature. So, no, I don't think he should be even listed even near any of those guys.
I think that's my point. I don't know if you have to put them right next to them, but I think he could be a little close, I think. I don't think he's in the same breath as them at all, but I'm saying if he beats this Niners team and his career numbers compared to his career numbers, he has improved 100%, and he has been very, very solid this year. So I think that it beats a legit Niners team that you do kind of have to put him a little close.
But what I don't understand is Baker Mayfield's having a career year. Does that mean we have to put him as a top-tier elite quarterback? Just because you're having a career year based on your career standards.
But I'm saying – But my point is Baker hasn't gone far in the playoffs. Jared Goff at this point will have gone to the Super Bowl not once but twice already. He has a better playoff record than a lot of guys in that top tier. I mean, this guy, he has good numbers all around. Listen, the turnovers, like Josh Allen has a lot of turnovers. You know what I mean? Same thing. I'm not saying he's as good as Josh Allen, but I'm saying that if he beats this Niners team and goes to his second Super Bowl, I think he has to be at least a little close to those guys.
I just want to hop in real quick. And this is going back to the fact that Jock mentioned his first 6 years stats. And this is a question. Are we talking about like all time or like top tier quarterback this year?
Like I meant like just in the current scape of the league, not all time, definitely not all time.
All right,
And
then I
more
don't
of
really care what he did for the
current-
first 6 years. I mean, I don't care what he did on the Rams. I don't care. The scheme was different. It's a whole different team. That was like 5 years ago what he did. All right, he had a good run on a very good team, but those stats don't matter to me. What really matters to me is what happens once he comes to the Lions. I mean, he's been on the team for long enough that we really could single it out. And yes, while he's really led this offense, I mean, this is a guy that came in from the Rams and was pretty bad. He gets one of the best offensive coordinators, one of the best offensive lines, a very, very solid wide receiving group. I mean, the running backs he's been behind, or he's been handing the ball off to his entire career in Detroit have been very good. I mean, he's got a very good system around him. I mean, I'm not calling this guy a top tier elite quarterback. This guy can't do anything. Like, he's, to me, a very good quarterback. But he doesn't do anything that makes me say like, wow, this guy's great. I mean, yeah, he fills in that position, but I mean, tell me the Lions don't draft a guy like if the Lions draft Bo Nix, how much of a step down is Bo Nix from Jared Goff? I mean, yes, he was drafted first overall 10 years ago, and he had a couple of good games back in 2013. But like in the real standings, what Matt said, he didn't have a career year. He had a very good year, but is it really all? I mean, this is a Brock Purdy debate that we're getting into. This is a guy that, yes, he has been able to throw the deep ball very well throughout his career. He can throw it across, the middle stripe of the field. But beyond that, I mean, this guy doesn't add anything to an offense. He doesn't bring anything. He doesn't have, the explosive legs that Josh Allen has. He doesn't have the decision-making of some of the top quarterbacks. He doesn't have the elite arm talent of Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. And I'm not even throwing guys' names like Trevor Lawrence, who have some of the more elite arms in the league. Yes, he can put it all together, but to call him the top-tier elite quarterback would just be not a very good take.
You were having some comments on some previous questions. I think that whoever made this question should be butchered. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, C.J. Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence. Those are 10 quarterbacks already better than him. Borderline guys, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, according to your logic, and Kirk Cousins.
That's abysmal. That's terrible.
I would still take Kirk Cousins over him. I mean, if Kirk Cousins stayed healthy, I'd take him over him. I'd take C.J. Stroud over him. I'm taking
Jordan Love.
I'm taking Jordan Love over him.
The Jalen Hurts pick baffles me. The Russell Wilson pick baffles me. I would 100% rather have Goff than those two guys.
So, can we single out Kirk Cousins? And I want to single out Kirk Cousins.
I won't argue Kirk. You can have Kirk. I meant more Jalen Hurts, and
what's wrong with Jalen Hurts here?
And Russell Wilson should absolutely.
Wait. I really want to hear this because this is important.
That guy's
why is Jalen Hurts a bum? No, Matt. Shh. Let him talk. Why is Jalen Hurts a bum?
Season record. That man has not won anything. He is the definition of a bum.
No. Go into it. What makes him a bum?
He's a bum. He is a bum.
Didn't he make the playoffs?
Get off the show.
Didn't he make the Super Bowl last year and had an amazing performance? Better than Patrick Mahomes. He was the best player in the field that night.
No, Jock, say it. Say that his surrounding cast is what makes him good.
I mean, it's part of it. It is part
of it. Look at the Lions. Look at the Lions surrounding cast. The best O-line in the league. An elite wide receiving core. I mean, the defense has even stepped up this year. What are we talking about? Sam Laporta is like one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, this is unreal. Get this question off my screen.
Jock, you had Jalen Hurts in your top 3 when we did midseason quarterback week 8.
I just really want to condense it here, though. I really want to condense it. Jalen Hurts is a better playoff performer than Jared Goff if you look at the last 2 years. Okay, I think the last 2 years is a strong sample size. Obviously, they hit the road bump this past year, a couple weeks ago. No doubt about it.
I think that's on coaching. I mean, we can't throw it all on Jalen Hurts.
You look at Jalen Hurts was the best player on the football field in last year's Super Bowl that he brought his team to, right? So Jared Goff hasn't had that level of performance on the biggest stage. His first time making the playoffs, I believe they dropped 6 points. First time making the Super Bowl, I believe they dropped 6 points.
Three
points? No, my mistake. That's even worse. So, he hasn't really done it on the biggest stage. In terms of regular season success, I would say Jalen Hurts gets that nod. I'm not really seeing, like, where is Jared Goff ahead of Jalen Hurts? Like,
I mean, again, this is the current scape of the league. Jalen Hurts in the last 6 weeks of the season was absolutely abysmal. Got dogged by the Bucks in the first round. I mean, at this point, if Goff, I'm saying this is a big if. It's if Goff beats the Niners, I would rather have Goff. If Goff goes to his second Super Bowl, I just think it has to be a little close. But with that being said,
hold on. I need to slide in one more thing here. I need to slide in one more thing before you dodge this prompt. Okay. So what I need to point out here is you said that Jalen Hurts was abysmal in the back half of the year. Let's really break this down. He didn't really play against the Giants in the final regular season game. In the Bucks game, in the playoff game, 25 for 35 with 250 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. That's a very respectable, very solid game.
100%.
Then against the Cardinals, a 78% completion percentage, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 pick. And then the game prior, he had a 63% completion percentage, 2 total touchdowns, 1 pick, and a win against the Giants. He has looked very solid in the back half of the year. And especially in that playoff game, that loss was not on him. He had a very solid performance. So I think we need to put a little bit more respect on Jalen Hurts' name. I mean, obviously, like, I don't want to hear any cries or mews or whatever it is. He made his way to the Super Bowl in the previous year, so you got to give him the respect.
We'll see. I mean, again, I think this relies a lot on what Jared Goff is going to end up doing in this weekend, but that'll do it here for this episode of St. Joe's Sports Shows, the NFL show for our conference championship episode. Once again, Jock McPriali, joined here by Matt Freeman, Will Kukowski, and Richie Zangara. Thank you guys for watching.